Hello you, it's me. Let's see if we can't get better lighting this time. Just finished this, so today we're going to talk about Devolution by Max Brooks. The book follows a woman called Katie, who is offered a home by her brother in a community, an eco-community, built in the forest in Washington, so she goes to live there with her husband. It's connected digitally, but cut off physically from the outside world, so they are very reliant on stuff like cable internet, drone deliveries from the nearest large city, which is Seattle. Nearby Volcano, Mount Rainier, erupts. A lot of towns are destroyed. Theirs is completely cut off, and that's due to budget cuts to the geological early warning system. Fleeing from the volcano, a group of Bigfoots, big feet, come into the village, and what follows is the crazy interaction and conflict between the humans and the Bigfoots, with absolutely no chance of outside intervention. It's told through the eyes of a journalist who is publishing Katie's diary that was found in the village and interviewing people who were part of the rescue effort following the volcanic eruption. I do think that because it's journalistic, I instantly sort of read integrity into it, and the diary format means that characters change as it's going and react to things sort of on the spot. I almost like that more than recounting the whole tale afterwards, and you're always on the edge of your seat because you don't have that third person speaking from the future, "Don't worry, I survived" guarantee. Being a diary format book, for the most part, I did think that it would shy away from the gory side of stuff, not wanting the character to have to relive and go through stuff. I was worried that descriptions of stuff were going to be quite vague, but I absolutely didn't shy away from that, and there were some horrendous scenes in this book. It doesn't assume that the reader is on the same level as the writer and the journalist character in terms of general knowledge, so it does keep things in that are relevant, and it explains them through footnotes rather than leaving them out, which I think is a really good thing. I like that the interviews were with people who would probably have done better in the situation and would have been much better adapted than most of us, and really highlight the flaws in the mentality of the group in a sort of retrospective, what went wrong look at things. And they really dispel the whole living at one with nature thing and the mindset that we have from being 100% safe from nature is what has led us to be separate from animals, essentially. The meaning of the title, I think, is twofold. Firstly, it could be a reference to a conflict with something lower down or on a very different branch of the evolutionary tree than us. Secondly, it could be in reference to a human having to rediscover the animal side of themselves in order to protect themselves against something which is essentially an animal. There is a heavy theme in this book that becoming better humans who are more adapted to modern society, by doing that we have become just terrible at being animals. And that's represented very clearly in shifts in power and leadership within the group, where you see people who are perfectly adapted to the modern world that we live in now, who just are not the people you want to be in charge in a survival setting. I do want to say, in the interview bits with stuff like park rangers, between the excerpts from Katie's diary, there are a lot of extremely well thought out theories, ideas about Bigfoot, about their origins, their existence, how they've remained hidden. And a lot of this is from a book called The Bigfoot Companion. And I've had a look, tried to look this up, and as far as I can tell, it's not a real book. So I would have read that. I would have loved to read something like that, especially following this, which has got me so psyched for Bigfoot. So tragically, I'll have to add that to my list of fictional books from fictional books that I will never get to read. What Max Brooks does is so amazing. And I think his specialty is, here's what went wrong to people who thought they were very, very safe. And in the modern age, he lets us know the ways in which we are not invincible, which we are not infallible, and that's how he makes these monsters scary. Because all the settings we usually see monsters like this in, they don't have the tech we have today, or human tech, human modern ingenuity is how they win. And he strips that right back. And these are stories where people have everything that they could possibly want, and it's still not enough. And it's really a testament to how well he does this that he's managed to do it with two of Hollywood's almost goofiest monsters, zombies and Bigfoot. Should have mentioned earlier, this is also the guy that wrote World War Z. Talk a little bit more about that at the end. Because it is a cryptid as well, I think it really does capture how the feeling of discovery would give you very rose-tinted glasses. I.e., people not taking precautions they should, or acting the way they should, because it's something new and they're experiencing it for the first time. There's all that excitement. Like John Hurt in Alien looking face down into that squirmy egg. Because it's an alien life. And that sentiment is captured really well in here. I like that people prepare themselves mentally at different rates. I feel like acceptance is not the same among all members of the group, and I feel like as the climax of the book is approaching, people are still, some of them, not acting how they should because of the mental blocks they have because of society. I think one thing that can often make horror cheesy is when you watch a movie or you read a book and the character is not acting realistically. You're watching the screen and you're like, oh my god, they're so dumb, why didn't they just do this? Or, that's so stupid, that's so avoidable. Horror is scary when the actions are realistic and relatable and you can imagine yourself taking the same steps. And I think the scariest horror for me is people doing exactly the right thing and everything's still coming apart at the seams. One thing that this did capture that was realistic is that in a group dynamic, people are going to have very different levels of experience and the ability to prepare. And us being humans, I mean, is that going to trickle down? Is that going to help everybody with one person showing the rest of the group? Or is that going to cause resentment among the group? And I think both of those are explored very well in here. It's just a book that really explores group dynamics in a survival situation very well. The human rift and the struggles for leadership, initially, I would almost liken to the Stephen King book / film, The Mist. But it does quickly divulge from that. But initially, it's a very similar feeling group dynamic in terms of there being so many different components to the human group. Some of the characters were a bit insufferable, but don't forget, this is a journal. You would get ticked off with people in a survival situation, especially if you're trapped with them. And in a journal, what do you do besides release on paper all the things that other people are annoying you with? And I don't think that when you're writing a book, every character has to be likable, but I do think they have to be realistic and understandable. And there were characters in this I didn't like, but as I was going through the book, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I can see why you're like that. Some people may think that the Bigfoot encounter following a extremely rare volcanic disaster is unrealistic. But actually, I think it does lend to the credibility. A 1 in a million event had to be triggered by another 1 in a million event, and that's why an encounter like this hasn't happened yet. And in the book, it does actually mention these things following each other closely, these natural disasters, and Max Brooks calls it the 1-2 punch, which I think is pretty cool. I honestly think that Max Brooks has done such an incredible job with this book. I hope he continues to give a new lease of life to monsters that I thought were exhausted. I'm excited for what he does next. Anybody that hasn't read World War Z, please read it. Don't judge it by the movie, which in my opinion was trash. It's in the top 10 horror novels I've ever read, maybe even the top 5. It's an emotional, highly moving book. It did make me cry first time I read it. incredible. And yeah, he's blown it out of the park with this one again. Really fantastic. I will be thinking about this for a while. May even have a few nightmares due to my deep-rooted phobia of monkeys. So maybe this book had a bigger effect on me than it would other people. I'm still going to give it 5 well-deserved stars. I absolutely loved it. I probably will get around to reading it again. It's a quick read. The pacing is fast because it's an action-filled book. Yeah, I highly recommend it to any horror fan, especially gory action horror. Absolutely brilliant. Haven't found many reviews up for this yet. I did get it, I think, on the day it was released. If you've read it, let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear your opinions. Anything you'd like me to read, pop it down in the comments below. What do you think of this review? What are you reading right now? Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's more coming on the way. Got a few new releases this week. Someone's shouting outside. But yeah, thanks very much for watching, for tuning in for this review, and I'll see you soon.